This weekend marks what would have been John Lennon's 48th birthday, and his murder 8 years ago has now prompted a scathing biography by Albert Goldman allegedly showing Lennon's darker side. And now here comes the release of a film titled Imagine that tries to give us a glimpse into Lennon's private life, as well as an overview of his career as both a Beatle and as an artist in his own right, working with his wife, Yoko Ono. I think the most revealing moments of this film come right at the very beginning, however, when Lennon talks about his boyhood.
I was raised by my auntie. My father and my mother split when I was about 4. I spent some time with my mother up till about 4. Then my father split. He was a merchant seaman, you know, you can imagine, and it was 1940s, yes, in the war and all that. And he left, and I was brought up by an auntie.
The most special musical footage is a private rehearsal of Imagine at his palatial estate.
Imagine all the people.
In another fascinating clip from the Lennon archives, John explains how he first met Yoko.
And the first thing that was in the gallery, as you went in, there was a white step ladder. And yes, I thought, okay, it's the first show I've been to that said something, you know, warm to me. So then I decided to see the rest of the show, and that's when we met.
We also get some home movies with John and Yoko's son, Sean Lennon, who talks about his father.
I never really registered that he was a Beatle until I saw a movie called Yellow Submarine. And I just put it together, and I would ask about it, and he would say, yeah, there's the Beatles. I was a Beatle, but that's over now. That's over now, and I'm spending time with you or something.
What's on the screen in this movie is fascinating. There are some poignant interview sections, particularly with John's first wife, Cynthia, who talks about what it's like to be left behind in the dust of a star. There's an amazing sequence where we literally see her not get on a train with the Beatles. She's left behind. She can't convince the security guard that she's John Lennon's wife, and she is left behind. The music is wonderful, of course. I wish there had been more of it. But because of the current controversy over the book about John Lennon that paints a much darker portrait of drug abuse and cruelty, we are left to wonder if this movie, Imagine, is the whole story of John Lennon. But taken for what it is, it shows sides of Lennon's life that we haven't seen before, or sides that we have seen before and still find immeasurably pleasurable to revisit.
I had something of the same reaction. You know, like everyone, I suppose I'm a Beatles fan, and I'm a John Lennon fan. I also remember the Complete Beatles and the Beatles Story, earlier documentaries. This one has largely new footage, this archival footage of this man, as you said, who was the most recorded man of modern times. They had 200 hours of private home movies. The problem I find is that documentary films are people looking at you. Home movies are movies you're making about yourself, and so you are very deliberately performing, and you're very aware of the fact that you're making a home movie. So that frequently I felt that I was seeing John and Yoko in private moments that they were making public, such as their famous honeymoon, which they made into a press conference, so that I wasn't sure at all times that I was getting a documentary look. I felt I was getting a look which John Lennon almost stage managed after his death.
Well, that's the one question I'm saying. Look, I would take any scrap of material. I just want to know what kind of material that I'm seeing, and I think you've described it quite well. It is somehow filtered. But there are times when even the person when they're being photographed can't know what the camera is catching. And there are some, for example, simple physical things. He was frail. That surprised me. I mean, I don't know why that surprised me. When I saw him now, he seems smaller. And then there are moments when he is tender to a visitor. That's a magical scene where a visitor, a stoned-out guy, comes to his house and he helps him. That may have been included in stage management in some way. It still is very touching, and a lot of people would have wanted to visit John Lennon's house, and they'll be interested to see how that scene plays out.
By and large, it's a very interesting movie, and another thing that's interesting about it is the way it recaptures that all strange late 60s, early 70s period of flower power and all that, you know, grow your hair, peace in the world kind of thing. It's very strange. Coming up next.